Some signals were never meant to be heard. In the summer of 1997, an array of underwater microphones detected something in the deep Pacific Ocean. The system that picked it up was originally built by the United States Navy to track Soviet submarines during the Cold War. By the late 90s, it had been handed over to scientists. They used it to listen to earthquakes, underwater volcanoes, and the calls of whales thousands of miles away. But on that summer day, it picked up something else. A sound so powerful that it was detected by sensors more than 3,000 miles apart. The scientists who first analyzed it had no explanation. They named it the Bloop. The hydrophone array that recorded the Bloop was part of a system called SOSUS, the Sound Surveillance System. During the Cold War, it was one of America's most classified assets. Hundreds of listening stations stretched across the ocean floor, connected by thousands of miles of cable. When the Cold War ended, NOAA inherited parts of the network and began using it for something entirely different, mapping the acoustic landscape of the ocean itself. The ocean is not silent, it is full of sound. Tectonic plates grind against each other. Underwater volcanoes rumble. Ice shelves crack and calve into the sea. Blue whales produce calls that can travel across entire ocean basins. The scientists monitoring SOSUS had learned to recognize all of these. They could listen to a recording and tell you what made it. But when they played back the recording from that summer, they heard something that didn't match anything in their catalog. The sound lasted for roughly 1 minute. It rose rapidly in frequency and was loud. Extraordinarily loud. Louder than any known biological sound ever recorded. The blue whale, the largest animal on Earth, produces calls that register around 188 decibels. The Bloop was significantly more powerful. And it didn't match the acoustic profile of any known geological event either. It wasn't an earthquake. It wasn't a volcano. It wasn't ice. At least, that's what the initial analysis suggested. The frequency pattern of the sound had one deeply unsettling characteristic. Its profile was consistent with a biological source, something alive. But for a living creature to produce a sound that powerful, it would need to be enormous. Far larger than any animal known to science. Far larger than anything believed to exist in the modern ocean. The Bloop originated at approximately 50 degrees south latitude, 100 degrees west longitude. A remote point in the South Pacific, thousands of miles from any landmass. When the coordinates were published, observers noticed something strange. They were almost identical to the fictional location of R'lyeh, the sunken city described by the horror writer H.P. Lovecraft in 1928, where a massive creature sleeps beneath the ocean. A coincidence, certainly, but an eerie one. Speculation spread quickly. Some suggested the sound was evidence of an undiscovered species of massive proportion, something living in the deep ocean trenches where sunlight never reaches. We have mapped more of the surface of Mars than we have of our own ocean floor. Entire mountain ranges exist down there that no human has ever seen. The idea that something large and unknown could inhabit that space is not as far-fetched as it might sound. In 2012, NOAA revisited the Bloop and issued an updated analysis. They concluded that the sound was most likely generated by an icequake, a large iceberg cracking and fracturing as it broke away from an Antarctic glacier. The frequency profile was consistent with ice events recorded in the years since. Case closed, officially. But there are those who point out that the revised explanation was not a match. It was a best fit. The original researchers who analyzed the Bloop in 1997 were experienced with ice noise. They had cataloged it extensively, and they did not identify the Bloop as ice. It was only years later, under different leadership, that the classification was changed. The original audio files are publicly available. Anyone can listen. And when you do, you notice that it doesn't quite sound like cracking ice. It sounds almost organic, almost like a call. 95% of the deep ocean remains unexplored. We do not know what lives down there. We assume we know what it sounds like. But in the summer of 1997, for roughly 60 seconds, something suggested otherwise. This has been Dark Signal. If you want to hear what else is hiding in the noise, subscribe.